Hi, Tim Dorman here. I am the long-haired gardener, and welcome to my Philly jungle. Alright, so let's get started over here in the potted plant section. I'm not going to go over every single plant because I've talked about them in previous videos, but I will comment if I got a new plant, and believe it or not, I did. I was able to squeeze a few more in here, so I'll point those out, and then I'll also point out if any of the plants that have been here are starting to bloom, because I do kind of glance over some plants that they're not really doing anything yet. So the wonderful passion flower, he's not blooming yet, and I don't think we really have any newbies in this pot. I did get, okay, I lied already. I have a black petunia here, which is looking a little sad, but I do have a couple black petunias sprinkled throughout. I did also move the foxtail asparagus fern over here. I just basically needed a pot over here. So he's not new, but some things have moved around a little bit. So let me just step back here briefly and talk about how I think this looks amazing. And maybe not everybody would agree because there really aren't a lot of flowers blooming right now. A lot of these plants will bloom, but I am just enjoying them with the foliage that they're showing right now. So let's just talk about how many different types of leaves we have going on here and how you can use foliage to make interest in your garden. So just an example, I mean, look at this cardinal climber, all these little finger-like leaves, and how well that contrasts with, you know, the Tradescantia right next to it, this dark green passion flower leaf. You got the asparagus fern back here, it's almost like a bottle brush. Coming down here, I mean, how great does this look? These nasturtiums basically look like lily pads floating in the air. Within the last few years, I can't think of the name of it, I think it's called a flying saucer plant, has been very popular for indoor plants, and it looks very similar to this. So how great is it that you can get that same look outside relatively easily, because that flying saucer plant sometimes is expensive and hard to find, and I'm getting that same look from a nasturtium that I grew from seeds for, you know, a few dollars. So I love purple, and here's another example of just adding some interest with foliage. This plant is going to produce dark, almost black and red peppers. The purple pearl, ornamental pearl black pepper plant. It's so hard to remember all of the names of all of these plants. So I mainly grow it for the foliage just because of the purple color. There are some other around the bottom here. These are plants that I see, seeds that I planted, but they are just a slightly different version of that plant. They have green leaves, but they still get the peppers. So moving down here, again, I love dark purple, I love black. So the sweet potato vine definitely helps add some contrast in color, interest of leaf shape, especially next to something like this double orange petunia over here, just because the leaves are green and smaller, and we do have some flowers happening over here. And to further the contrast, these cannas have these gigantic leaves, which I'm mainly growing for the foliage because these are Tropicana gold cannas, so they're supposed to get variegated leaves, so hopefully in the future we'll be able to see that. So let's just step back here again and just kind of appreciate all of the different leaf shapes, all the different colors, and how this can still look good even though things aren't blooming yet. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so right next door here, last video we did talk about this balloon flower. I believe there's only probably one flower blooming, so just take advantage of the fact that we've got multiple flowers blooming right now. We'll come in and just get a better look at how nice those are. Alright, and back here, now this is not blooming, but this is a new plant. This is going to be a white bleeding heart. So nothing's going to happen this year, but hopefully next year that will bloom. It's already grown quite a bit since I brought it home. Alright, in the front here, and I feel like I should probably apologize. I feel like I'm breathing very heavily today, like I just ran a marathon. Today's high is 95, so it's just a little humid and uncomfortable out here, so I apologize if I sound like I'm breathing really heavy, because I am. So down here, this is a Coreopsis. So this plant was here last time, it just wasn't blooming. And this plant here that I am pushing out of the way, that is going to be a poppy that came up from seed. So in a future video, you'll be able to see what that looks like when that's blooming. Alright, wow, this almost blends in with the soil or the dirt in the background. This is called Black Dragon. And this is a coleus. This is a new plant for me. I grow coleus every year. Just this particular color is new. It has this nice dark chocolatey brown leaves, and hopefully as the leaves get bigger in the center, it gets this like reddish burgundy color. So we'll see what happens. Alright, moving over, the dahlias have finally started to bloom. So I've got this nice reddish burgundy color. This is called the Gideon. And we have, try not to step on anything. We have another variety back here, and this one is called Crazy Love. This one, it looks like the ants are all over this flower. Hopefully not doing anything bad to it. I believe once this flower opens up a little more, it's predominantly white, but it will also have some like purple edges. So we'll see what happens there. There are a couple more Black Dragon coleus down here. Wow, they really do just kind of blend in to the background. So I'm hoping those leaves do get some like burgundy in there, just so that they pop a little bit. Otherwise, they're kind of lost. So nothing has really changed over here. I did get another Tradescantia. I'm trying to lean in here without stepping on plants or falling into them. that pink stripe Tradescantia pallida is new. But I think we have already gone on over all of the other plants. Alright, moving over the other brown pot. Nothing really new to talk about, but I will just give you a quick glance here just to see the progress of some of these plants. Alright, stepping back, I do have a lot of hostas, and I said I would do a video in the future that's all about hostas. I was a little shocked myself to realize that there's probably 11 different hosta varieties back here. Who knew that I had so many? Certainly not me. Alright, down here in this pot, just because I am a little impatient, I do have the Colocasia coming up here in the back. I talked about how I got it online and it's probably not going to be a major success, so because I am impatient, I thought, well, let's put another plant in there just so it's not a completely empty pot. So I do have another Coleus right back here, and I also did put a few caladiums in there, so hopefully I didn't overcrowd the pot, but it's just out of concern of nothing's gonna be coming up, so I've probably overdone it. Alright, getting a back view of this pot right here, I do have a new plant, which is this one right here. This is a wild spike cypress, and I just think this has really interesting foliage. It's not going to produce any flowers, but I don't know, I just think it's really fun. It's almost like green fireworks exploding in the garden here. While I am down here, let's just take a quick look at this hosta that's blooming. Again, I'll talk about those real soon in another video, but I can't believe they're blooming already. Alright, let's spin around and make our way to this section, which I never show, and talk about what's going on over there. Alright, let's talk about this section over here. I haven't talked about it much or at all this year, mostly because I planted some seeds over here and nothing was happening, and also this is kind of like a transition area, maybe where I pot up some plants to get them to started to grow, or maybe they're being gifted to somebody, so it's usually just doesn't look that great over here and things weren't happening. But I think we're far enough along now that we can take a look so that we have something to compare in a future video. So the top pot here I always reserve for a plant that's going to vine. The reason for that is we have a window here that has some bars on it and it doesn't look great, so my solution is to have vining plants that climb up it. So this year we're trying 3 different plants that I've never tried before. I believe, and I say I believe because I did not do a great job of labeling, and I had all of my little mini seeded pots together and I may have gotten things mixed up, but I believe the plant on the left is a brown-eyed Susan vine, and the plant next to that to the right is a morning glory, and the very tiny one next to that right down here is a purple bell vine. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully there's nothing crazy in there, but I don't think it will be a problem. Alright, moving down. So this is just a petunia. This is one of my favorite varieties of petunias besides the all black one. It's not rare. You can get it anywhere. I believe it's Fortunia early blue vein. I think so. There's so many different varieties. and if they're not labeled when you buy them, it's easy to get them mixed up. So flanking the petunia, I have lavender. So on the left, there is a French lavender, and on the right is the English lavender. So why do we need to know the difference? The French lavender, we'll come in here. The flowers look a little bit different than the English. This one would focus. So I'm talking about this little thing right here. Kind of has like a little fat, almost caterpillar bottom, and then this puffy muppet hair on top. That's the flower. It has already bloomed once, and this is the second blooming, so it's not really that far along and doesn't look that spectacular. But once it does bloom, it does look quite showy, and it's a really nice plant. It differs from the English because, as you can see, there's no puffy caterpillar. These flowers are, I guess, smaller and a little bit more airy, and a slightly different color too. So it's all about preference, which flower you like more, and also what growing zone you are living in. So the French lavender is only frost hardy in zones 5 and less, so that's not a lot of people, you know, depending on where you're living, but it's definitely not for me. And then the English is zones 7 to 9. So the one on the right, the English lavender, that actually came back from last year. I have had a French lavender before, and of course it died, and I did not realize that until I read up on it, why it didn't come back. Alright, but they're both beautiful, they both smell amazing, they just look different, slightly different when they flower, and one's going to come back and one isn't, depending on where you live. Alright, so moving down here, that's just the lemon balm that was in the other potted area. I just moved it over to give it a little more space. And right next to that we have some salvia. So that's the red and the purple. So we have a red hot Sally and a purple Vista. And right in front of that we have a sweet potato vine. You can probably tell by now that I love sweet potato vines. Again, I'm kind of a foliage person, so I appreciate the leaves, especially this one with the pink throughout it. This one is called the Pink Frost. And of course I have some Purple Heart or Tradescantia pallida mixed in here too. Alright, so right next door, this is the plant I think I'm most excited about. This is called an angel's trumpet or Brugmansia. As you can see, this is the flower. It's quite beautiful. I love these little kind of talons at the top. Gets these long trumpety flowers. They tend to bloom in the evening, and the plant has this nice scent to it. It's very subtle, kind of lily scent, but maybe a little bit more musky. So that is the trumpet's angel's trumpet. So one thing I want to point out real quickly about this plant, and basically all your plants, it's important to know what you have in your garden and who's going to be gardening with you. A lot of these plants are poisonous. Not really to touch, but if you eat them by accident, some of them can be quite poisonous. And you're probably thinking, well, who's going to eat them? Your pets, and maybe a small child. You know, little kids like to pick things up and put them in your mouth, so you don't want that happening with the plants that you have. So this particular plant is part of the Nightshade family. So maybe you have heard of belladonna or deadly nightshade, and let's face it, with a name like deadly nightshade, you should know there's something bad going on there. So this plant is pretty poisonous, so you just want to keep that in mind, to know who's gardening with you, pets, children. It's probably fine for adults as long as you just remember to wash your hands and don't rub your eyes. But I think it's a real stunner, and I'm excited to have it this year. Alright, let's move on to the other parts of the garden. Alright, moving on to the other part of the garden. Trying to hurry up here. It is really hot. Let's just do a nice pan just so you can see how nice everything is coming along. Got some more salvia down here. That's the purple and the red plant. And then another new plant that I got right here. This is called an angel wing. And like I said, we did get a lot of heavy rain, so the dirt kind of splashed up here on all the leaves. So I'm excited for this plant. It kind of has a soft, almost lamb's ear look or feel. Right next door here we've got the lamb's ear. So it's being grown purely for the foliage. It's not going to bloom, but I think it's a real stunner. I've mentioned before, you know, I kind of stick to not one, but like a theme or a color palette. It tends to be, you know, like dark colors, dark purple, blacks, dark reds, oranges, and then silvers. And funny enough, it didn't dawn on me until I think my sister mentioned, oh, those are Halloween colors. And that makes complete sense because Halloween is my favorite holiday, so of course that would spill into my garden. Alright, so the impatiens are doing great down here, and I did add a few more pots over here. We got chicks and hens on the right. The plant in the middle, I just moved him outside. This is actually a pineapple plant. So if you cut the top off of a pineapple that you just buy in the supermarket, you can actually root that and grow a new plant. So that's what's going on here. I think I've had that for maybe a year, and I thought by bringing it outside, because it is a tropical plant, it will help it grow a little bit. Got some more purple hearts and impatiens over here in this pot, and then this large spike. Alright, I think I have covered all of the new plants and kind of just pointed out some of the progress of the growth of what's going on in here. You probably noticed that there's this big empty spot, and hopefully what's going to happen there is an elephant ear is going to grow. Last year I had a whole bunch of elephant ears. I have some starting in pots right now, but they're taking a really long time to really show any foliage, so that's why there's an empty spot there. There's an elephant ear slowly growing under the ground. Alright, thank you for watching today and coming along on my gardening journey. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. See you in the next video.